Hey everybody, Uptown has moved across town, and we're gonna funk you up with 5 stories on this week's Beat Blast. Stick with us. Welcome back to this edition of the Beat Blast, sponsored by the Admiral Theater. Story number 1 today: since 1972, Uptown Auto Body has been fixing cars on Pacific Avenue, the main drag of Bremerton that was once the commercial core of Kitsap County. But like so many businesses before it, Uptown has relocated to a spot off of Auto Center Way, where it's more accessible to cars and the Highway 3 corridor.
Downtown parking was real limited. You know, we had 8 bays to park in, and now I could park probably 350 cars in the lot out front now. Yeah. We were just moving cars in and out and in and out, shuffling cars all day and not working on many cars, getting it done. We were just out of room, and it was a big move for us. Now we're on 3 acres instead of a 1/5 of an acre at our old place. And I wasn't sure how the move was gonna be done, because it's not like a shoe store. You just load shoes up and you're open on Monday. You know, we got cars, so it was Friday and Saturday we were moving cars and frame machines and people and everything. And I tell you what, my crew did a fantastic job. Everybody just worked their tails off, and it was like going all of a sudden on Sunday, going, you know, we can open up on Monday morning.
We did it.
Meanwhile, it leaves another space in downtown Bremerton that gives more room to get what city leaders have long envisioned for downtown when the retail left: more residential spaces. Speaking of that, Marina Square just started construction. It's located between the Harborside condos and the Hampton Inn off of Washington Avenue. Plans call for an apartment tower as well as a hotel tower, a restaurant, and pedestrian spaces. Story number 2, Ronnie Gill Jr. was a bow gunner for the U.S. Coast Guard escorting a ferry when 12 years ago he was thrown from his boat and tragically killed. Each year, the Coast Guard returns to that place off of the Triangle Route, the Southworth, Fauntleroy, and Vashon Island ferry run, and they pay remembrance to Gill, a man whose life changed how they patrol the boats forever.
Our primary mission is law enforcement and security. We protect the ferries that cruise through Puget Sound. We also guard the military ships that come in with valuable military equipment. We're also a deployable unit, so in events like Hurricane Maria, Hurricane Harvey, we deployed members to both of those to support the relief operations there.
On March 25th, 2007, we tragically lost him during a port, waterways, and coastal security mission. As a result of his loss of life in service and duty, it radically changed how we do business in the port, waterways, and coastal security mission. And I am honored to have men and women, brothers and sisters in arms here in the Coast Guard who represent that mission that Ronnie Gill Jr. was serving when he lost his life here today. And as a result of his loss, he has made a generation of Coast Guard men and women safer.
Story number 3 today. This might be the most unique commute I've ever heard of. But when you live in such a beautiful place, I can see why you'd want to hop into your plane and take it to the light rail in Seattle after you get off at Boeing Field. Reporter Nathan Pilling has the story.
Well, today's sort of a typical aero commute for me. So I fly Cessna 172. I take off out of Bremerton National Airport, and we land at Boeing Field. And then we'll typically take either an Uber or a lot of times we'll get on a bus that brings us up to light rail, which brings me to my job here at the U. Make sure everything's still attached the way it ought to be. I do it just for the enjoyment of it. You know, there are quicker, cheaper, easier ways for me to commute, but there's nothing more beautiful than a flight in a small airplane in the Pacific Northwest with the beauty of the mountains around you and the Puget Sound and all the ferries running underneath you.
Story number 4, can you feel the love tonight? That's because the students at View Ridge Elementary School are going to take on The Lion King on April 10th, just months before a big screen movie of the 1990s cartoons hits theaters.
They're very excited to be doing The Lion King in particular. It's one of those shows that is highly loved by kids of all ages, so they're excited to be part of it and to see the characters that they've seen on the screen, be able to perform those characters and see them come to life.
And finally, story number 5, what's on tap for your weekend? Brought to you by Silver City Brewery Tap Room. Hey, I know it's not quite the weekend, but my friend Micah Kipple, a geologist, is hosting the Hidden Geology of Kitsap County at Paulsbo's Olympic College in room 105. And while we're at it, the weather is, of course, improving in Kitsap County into the springtime. I would encourage you to go to Lieber's Lane, where you can visit Uland Tree Farm, and go check out the place that we saw at a recent story walk, Dickerson Creek Falls.
This is a tiered waterfall with 2 tiers. The upper tier, which you can see kind of in the trees behind me, is a horsetail, and the tier you can see right down here, that is a cascade. Truly spectacular. Most of our falls in Kitsap County are cascading falls. The basalt rock underneath was erupted underneath the ocean off our coast 50 million years ago. This is 50 million year old rock right here in Kitsap County, and you can see it really easily. There's a whole story behind it.
It's a really pretty area. It's good to get out and hike, take some breaths of fresh air, and get some exercise while you are at it. One more thing I want to mention to you, Bridging Bremerton is returning this year for the 2nd annual event. We had 1,000 people at the event, over 4 things throughout the whole day, and we're coming back at you June 22nd, 2019. I hope you can join us. Next week is spring break, and we're taking the week off at the Beat Blast, so I hope you have a great spring break, and we'll see you next time.